Anything you can do, I can do better. Yeah, that's right. This one's a musical. Just because, fuck it. Anyway, Ortiz Exuro. Before we go into this, I need to just clarify something really quickly. This is a bad set. I am going to be going over builds. There are like 3 or 4 builds that I have found to be remotely usable. However, whatever it is you think you can get out of this set, Eclipse just does so much more, even with just a normal boring fire turret. And the thing that really annoys me about the Exuro set is it does to the fire turret what I feel the fire turret should just be anyway. Like, it kind of feels like the fire turret just needs a rework to be Exuro, and then what Exuro would do is give the fire turret that now does 360, because that would actually make the fire turret worthwhile generally. What Exuro should do is give a 360 fire turret legs. It chases after fucking the enemies. And I think personally that would be hilarious, just having this 360 spinning fire turret running after enemies. Just, yeah, that's what I think Exuro should be. Though I digress. Now, although I've just said it's a bad set, it's only a bad set simply because Eclipse exists. If Eclipse got nerfed or Eclipse didn't exist, etc., etc., Exuro potentially could be worthwhile. It's very limiting because it forces you into using the fire turret rather than just it being some form of fire skill. But then I suppose that would literally just be poor man's Eclipse. As it stands right now, there's no real benefit to actually utilizing this set whatsoever. Simply just because it locks you in, like I said, to utilizing that turret. I think personally the only good thing about this set is the fire turret no longer sets you on fire, which is probably a good thing where it spins around in 360. That would get really annoying trying to pick the thing up very frigging quick. Then if we add in the cooldown of the fire turret anyway, we then enter just a whole other world of problems, which now means we need to sacrifice potential damage and usability just to try and get that cooldown to be even remotely worthwhile, which is a no-no. The overall range of the fire turret is quite impressive, though the problem that you're again going to have with this, and you're going to hear this throughout, is the spread of Eclipse is 15 meters. That is literally the size of the fire turret's radius, essentially. So no matter what enemies you're able to burn with the fire turret, you could do with Eclipse anyway. And Eclipse actually has a stronger burn, and then if you shoot the enemy, you also get more damage from your weapons with Eclipse because it gives a 30% amp. Anyway, on to the actual builds. The first one's pretty standard. We're going to be using Capacitor and Everlasting Gaze throughout this. We have 4-piece Exuro, Vile Mask, and then we have an Electric piece. The talent on the chest for Electric is going to be skilled just to help us combat that ridiculous cooldown. All rolls are going to be status effect with some skill haste thrown in just to hopefully help you out. Now, ideally, the second skill you want, and this is the build I'm running in the footage you can see, the second skill you want is going to be something that is able to stay up for a decent amount of time that can also proc potentially skilled. I went with the striker drone here simply just because if skilled does proc, as long as the drone is out, rather than skilled refreshing the drone, it will always refresh the turret. You don't necessarily want something like the Firestarter chems, because if skilled does proc, it will just give you back a Firestarter chem. It's very strange why this happens and how it works. You essentially just want one pretty decent static skill that hopefully won't consume skilled and can also proc skilled. The next build is a bit strange, mostly the same, but rather than Vile Mask, we're now going to run Memento. And the reason we're going to run Memento is in terms of all weapon damage and the status effect that the Ortiz backpack will give you, Memento actually gives us more. Rather than it being 25% for the status effect and the weapon damage, Memento essentially gives you 30%. It will also give you another 30% on your skill haste. We're still going to run skilled here, mostly just because all this is actually really going to do is it frees up the skill slot so that we can run something a little bit more interesting if we wanted, something along the lines of the Firestarter Chem. That's basically it. This is a better combination than what the previous build was, simply because it has a lot more usability and it's a bit more entertaining to use and a bit more fun and engaging. However, it is actually lower damage simply just because although we're doing 5% more effectively on our turret, we are losing Vile. So it does actually work out worse. And that's really kind of it. It's actually a build that I actually probably would recommend when utilizing this. However, we do have one more build to go over, and for this one I do need to give a shout out because it is not my build. When number crunching this and having a look around on the internet to see if I could get any decent ideas, because I was going crazy trying to run this frigging set, in comes DJ Tickle with a combination that I honestly wouldn't have thought of, and after checking it out, it does actually end up being the strongest. However, we do end up sort of going back full circle to the first build of where we kind of need to run a skill that allows us to be quite static, and essentially it's there as a stat stick to help bolster the turret with its cooldown. So I have adjusted this to actually show like the top end. However, it does require a unicorn, which as you can see is Golem. Have fun. You're going to need a Golem piece either with skilled, status effect and skill haste, so you can change the core from blue to yellow, or you're going to need the backpack of Golem, which is again skill haste, status effect, then shock and awe, to once again do the same. 4-piece Exuro, and then depending on what chest and backpack you get, the next will be Electric with Tag Team. The reason we actually want Tag Team here is actually a pretty damn smart move. Where skilled is a 25% chance, Tag Team is guaranteed. The difference is essentially you kind of want to just follow your drone around. Your turret you can put somewhere where it's going to capture a lot of attention and do a lot of damage, and then you loose your drone, you follow the drone around, and when your drone is shooting something, you shoot them as well. This will reduce your cooldowns by 6 seconds every 4 seconds. Obviously you can shoot the enemies being hit by the turret as well. However, due to the fact that you would need to shoot them when they're actually hit by the turret, not on fire, it does end up being a little bit more beneficial, a little easier to do if you just follow the turret around, the drone, if you just follow the drone around. This is the highest damage setup, and it's also the most consistent to deal with that damn cooldown, which is basically the huge flaw of Exuro as a whole, just that bloody cooldown on the damn turret. That is basically it. It's not a very good set. I don't recommend it, and like I said, whatever it is you think you can get from this, Eclipse is just so much better. However, these are the top 3 builds I would recommend, although I would highly recommend the Memento build as well as DJ Tickle's Tag Team build. They do seem to be the better options for the setup. You get pretty good damage out of it, as well as they are probably the best options to help manage that damn cooldown. Anyway, have fun, good luck, don't die. It's bad for the health.